Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to After Dark with John's Longbox. Here with Philip Cummings, probably better known as Captain Cummings. We were just chit-chatting, and he said, "Hey, I'm available now, so why not?" I'm awake. I'm awake. How you doing? Do I call you Captain? Do I call you Philip? Or
Oh, whatever you feel comfortable with. I don't mind.
yeah. So how you doing today? How's everything?
Oh, I'm doing good. I work nights, so I'm like, even though this is my day off, I still stay up all night and then go to sleep during the day.
All right. I'm a construction worker, so I wake up at 4 in the morning, and then all of a sudden I don't know what you know about construction, but a job ends, you go to another job.
Oh
So
yeah.
one job ended, the next job I'm working in schools in the Bronx, and I don't start till 3:30. Oh man, it played havoc on my system. I was like a miserable, angry person for like 2 weeks until I got used to it. Now that job ended, and I'm going to another job on Monday. So I took a week off, and I don't know what to do with myself. Like I don't know when to sleep. I don't know when to stay awake. I'm all discombobulated. you know, People need schedules, Philip. So I got that out of my system. If I'm so weird. So anyway, uh, I haven't heard from you in a long, long time. Do you mind if I give a little introduction of what I know about you, or do you want to give an introduction about yourself?
I mean, you can go ahead and then like I'll fill in anything that.
I'm inevitably going to make a mistake. But you were Captain Cummings, and you had your YouTube channel. You're a comic book guy, military. Do you say ex-military or you're military for life? I don't know. But you were one of the original Comicsgate guys, if not the original Comicsgate guy. Like you, I heard of you through, it was called Diversity in Comics.
Yeah.
I happened to stumble upon that in like the first 2 months of its existence, and I just had finished up working at Marvel Comics as an electrician, and I was giving your boy Zach in just funny stories about Marvel Comics, and then he kept talking about you, so I'm watching you, and then one day you just had enough and disappeared. A lot of the early guys. Am I correct in all that?
Yeah, that's basically a good summary.
Yeah, cool. And I already talk too much, so that's my biggest flaw is I talk too much. So what have you been doing? How's everything? Like, are you? We'll get into it later, but what's going on with you?
I mean, that was like that was a long time ago, like what, 2017 or something like that, 18.
Right.
So from there, I went back to college. I'm in the National Guard. Actually, I'm an electrician in the National Guard.
Oh, there you go. We're both electricians.
Yeah, we're both prima donnas, but
That's it. We're going to talk about voltage and resistors for the rest of the night.
Yeah. Oh, the stuff overseas is just a nightmare. Open up a panel and all the wires are the same color.
You know what's funny? My wife and I went to Barbados, and we were in a hotel room. The first thing I did was I opened up the electrical panel in the hotel room. I was like, "Don't unpack." This place is going to go on fire at any second,
any moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened to me in Iraq. They brought me into this once like compound, and they're like, "Oh, can you take a look at this?" And like, there was like panels just feeding other panels, and like you had no way to like trace it out or anything. They had like a rat's nest of wires just like sitting right below the panel, and I'm like, honestly, like I don't see why this hasn't like caught on fire yet. So I just like eliminated everything and just made one panel. So
Here we go. Electrical shop talk with two electricians. This is topical, and I'm glad that I'm talking to you about this. But you saw that Trump goes into the UN, and the teleprompter turned off, and the escalator turned off. Did you see that?
I saw it on Fox News, but I couldn't hear it because I was at the gym.
Oh,
so I didn't exactly know what was going on.
Yes. So apparently, well, first off, apparently Sunday, the New York Times said that UN workers were going to turn off the escalator to as a joke to say to Trump, "We need more money," and then the escalators turned off. So like I say to my wife, there are no coincidences. And then,
well, especially if you say you're going to do it.
right. And then, and they try to blame Trump's crew. Oh, the sensor ran up and it turned it off and blah blah blah. Yeah, I'll believe it when I believe it, to quote Yogi Berra. And then the other thing was his teleprompter went off. He was going to give a 15-minute speech. So, of course, Trump went off for 40 minutes just lambasting everybody in the UN. It was glorious. But the point that I want to make up is I worked in the UN as an electrician, and they have their own codes. They don't follow, not only do they not follow New York, American electrical codes, they don't follow New York. New York codes are stricter than the United States because of the population density. You know what I mean? It has to be. It's stricter. More people could die. There's more buildings, more whatever. The UN does whatever the F it wants. It's not considered U.S. soil. So I'm always like, yeah, but if the UN burns down, it's going to cause problems. It's using the same electrical grid. They don't have their own power source there. I worked in a building in 40 East in Manhattan. The 19th floor was the Moroccan embassy, and that floor was exempt from every rule. It was considered Moroccan. So every once in a while they would call us up there to fix something, and it was like drawing straws. I don't want to do it. Do you want to do it? I don't want to do it, because literally, I forgive people who don't know what we're talking about, but there'd be splices with no wire nuts on them, live, high voltage splices. Just
I've seen that before.
Oh my! Like you move a ceiling tile, wire nuts rain on you, and then you duck it because you see copper splices just falling, and they're high voltage. But they can't. The city can't come in and inspect. But they have their own people fix it, and sometimes their own people can't fix it. So then they'll have real electricians, and it's like, oh no.
Well, and the worst is the grounding and bonding, because that's the most important, and then they'll just do whatever they want.
Right. Yeah. So Zane Comics wants to know, what did he walk into? You walked into electrical talk. It's late night electrical talk. So I got to ask you. We'll get back to comics. Do you still read comics? Are you still interested in comic books?
Oh yeah, like every day.
Okay, what are you reading? What are you into?
Mainly because it's on my phone. I'll read a lot of manga because you can get Show and Jump for like $2.99 a month, and you can read anything. So you'll read, like, I've read through last like couple of years, like all of Dragon Ball, One Piece. Some of the newer stuff, I can't remember the names off the top of my head. But just whatever's new, whatever's coming out every month, just read it weekly or whatever.
Now, is that because of it's just so cheap, or is it because you're just into manga, or the third choice is because American comics just don't interest you anymore?
And the convenience, I can be at work, open up my phone and read something, it's super cheap. It's like, well, why wouldn't you pay $2 a month to read whatever you want?
Right.
So, that's what I've been reading a lot of. I do have like, I've been buying those, those big like facsimile books. That
oh yeah. Marvel and DC putting out the facsimile editions.
But they're like the big hardcover editions.
Oh, the artist editions, the expensive ones?
No, not. It's like by Taschen, the Tushen. So like they'll be like exact facsimiles of the comic, and they'll have like the first 20 issues of like Spider-Man or the Avengers and such. So I have a few of those, and just a few of the omnibuses. Like I might buy an omnibus, read it, and then usually I'll put it back on eBay and sell it, buy something else, because it's like you buy so much stuff. It's like, well, what am I going to do with this?
Right. I'm a crazy person that right behind me, I built a room for comic books. You know what I mean? So we all, and even now I'm starting to get worried about space.
Well, and the
whatever.
fun thing about selling it is then you can put it back into buying new stuff or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I keep this my comic book room. That's,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a nut job. I'm a nut. Whenever somebody mentions collecting comics, I got to show my insanity. That's my insanity. I understand. I respect that. And now,
Well, and the thing is I don't know if so during COVID, I was looking at my collection, and then I was looking online, and I'm like most of these books have like 10x'd on me from what I bought them at, you know. I'm
right.
like, if there's any point to if there's any point to like sell this stuff and make like a profit, it would be like right in that moment. So I decided to, and I was like, I can always buy them back probably cheaper later. And like, yeah, I made like $30,000 and
Nice.
paid off my house, and then like, so I don't have any regrets over it. Um, and I still have like my Avengers #1, Avengers #4, you know, all the stuff that like you're like, oh, that's really cool. But I sold all the stuff that's like, you know, the only one that really hurts is the first Punisher.
Oh, okay.
But I sold it for like $5,000 or something like that.
The,
So it
Spider-
didn't hurt that.
the Spider-Man comic. What was it? Amazing
Yeah, the
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man one.
Yeah. Yeah. I I sold one comic, Mad Magazine, but it was Mad Comics
Yeah.
#3, and I remember selling it for $300. I forget when, but I was working as a teacher, so it was like 2001, and I hadn't been paid in 4 months. You get paid like once a month, but then they messed up, and then they hold back your first paycheck. So I was like telling the principal, I was like, I can't come to work. I can't borrow any more money for gas. So I ended up selling Mad Magazine #3 for $300. And I still think about it. Like I wake up in the middle of the night, I can't believe it. You know, like I joke. And I told my wife the value of my comics. I have a software program, and every time I buy a comic, I type it in, and it's like stocks. It keeps track of the average sales and stuff like that. Because my big fear is that I eventually have my heart attack, and then she just like tells people, get rid of all this garbage. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, that'll
Some
pay
guy
for
with a store buys it for like pennies on the dollar.
right? Because I've done that. You know, people get divorced or grandparents, and I bought their collections. You know, so I vultured other people. I don't want to be vultured. So let's talk about your YouTube channel. When did you start your YouTube channel?
Oh man, I don't remember. I've actually been into YouTube since almost the beginning. So like maybe not like 2006, but I remember I got out of the Navy in like 2008, and I would watch YouTube, and then I figured out you could actually upload your own videos onto it. So like I think at that time, like I was like doing like football predictions, like this team's going to beat this team or something like that. And then move forward, I think in like 2010 or 2012 or something, I started talking about comics just randomly. And then move forward to like 2000. It was around the time of Trump. That's when I started talking about like the politics of comics, because you know you really started noticing how heavy, you know, Marvel and DC, because it was always, you could always see it, but especially in like 2015 2016 when it got like heavy.
Right. Right. I quit reading Marvel and DC in 2015. It was just enough was enough, and like it the bad didn't even peak yet, you know. So
No,
I'm glad. So have you read any Marvel DC
not in
since?
years.
Yeah, it got really bad around 2019, and then every once in a while I'm weak. I'm a weak person, Philip. I'll buy like a year's worth of Fantastic Four because they're still my favorite comic book.
Yeah.
I make fun of me all you want, but I feel like I'm missing my friends. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, I'm like, oh man, what's going on with Ben and Johnny? You know, so I'll buy a year. I'll get 12 issues, and it was 2016 wasn't bad, 2017 wasn't bad, and boom, 3 or 4 months into 2018, it was like they finished up a story, and then literally it was like the next issue was like a woman from the microverse that she was going to take it over because of the patriarchy and everything. And then when she saw that like men were in charge of the microverse, she's got this. I was like, what the hell is this? It was that bad. And then they changed the next issue. They changed the origin of the Fantastic Four. I was like, I originally quit because I couldn't deal with the disrespect to the continuity, and the woke stuff creeped in maybe a year later. I'm so glad I left. So, I don't know. Like, I heard that Marvel is turning a corner, and it might be right. I don't care. I'm done.
Well, it's just funner to go back and read the older stuff, and they're always like, if you look at what they're releasing with the hardcovers and omnibuses and stuff, you can always see something that you're like, oh, I loved that one. You can pick it up and then read it, and then I usually just sell them back, sell them to somebody else that wants to read them on eBay or something. But
yeah, last time I got involved with eBay, it was just torture. eBay takes out so many funds.
Oh yeah, they do.
And then person's like, oh, you said it was a 6.8, but it was a 6.5. So I'm like, shut the hell up.
I've actually never had any problems with that sort of stuff.
Oh, well, because I don't grade. I just take a picture of it. Look at the picture, judge for yourself.
That's what I do.
Like I bought a full run of Jack Kirby's Commandy. Never read it. So I still get my comic book fix. I still read. I'm probably reading more comics than ever and having more fun. Just here it is. Tomorrow I'm starting to read Commandy for the first time. I read other people's versions of Commandy. Now
yeah,
I'm
it's pretty fun. I've got the omnibus of that.
Yeah, so you were involved in like you were there at the beginning. Like, was it you who started calling it Comicsgate, or was there somebody else? The old lore, as Aslan would say. I kind of forget, because I didn't think it was going to be a big deal back then. I was listening to your boy Zach, and then like he never really said Comicsgate, and to the point where like people started asking if you were comics creator. He was like dragging his heels, and he didn't want to say it. And then finally he was just like, yeah, I'm comic. But like, so I came in through your boy Zach, Diversity in Comics, and then eventually he changed it to he's still active now under Comics Matter. And he referenced you a lot, so I started listening to you. And I like, again, tell me if I'm talking out of turn, but you were having a spat with why can't I think of his name? But you wanted a refund.
Oh, B. Claymore, yeah.
B. Claymore. I couldn't think of his name. You wanted, and you, I like, did you track him down, or did you just happen to be where he was? Because that's
an interesting story. Most people don't even probably realize this. So, we both live in Northeast Kansas, and I had only purchased that book because I knew somebody online that liked B. Claymore's Hawaiian Dick. And I was like, oh, well, I'll buy it for him and then mail it to him when it comes in. Well, lo and behold, it's, a decade later and he still hasn't finished it. But nonetheless, we're in, so I was about to go on a training mission with the military the next day. So I went to Lawrence, Kansas with the wife to go out to eat. And we're walking down the main street, Massachusetts Street in Lawrence, Kansas. It's basically like where all the bars are and then restaurants and such. And I see him come out. I see B. Claymore come out of the pizzeria place. And I wasn't quite sure if it was him, but I thought it was. So, I mean, I just kind of ignored him because I'm on a date with my wife. And I just keep walking. And then I hear out of my back right side, I hear him yelling at me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's when I just started up my phone because I thought it would be funny. And, that's how everything else played out.
Okay. Because that's one of those stories that the telephone game, makes it sound crazier than it actually was. But that became part of Comicsgate legend. Like, here's a guy that tracked down a guy, demanded a refund. And at this point, it was it was a customer base like that. Your boy Zach used to say that, like, you're pissing off the customers, and it was a reaction to Marvel and DC. Like, they're pissing us off, they're insulting us, they're chasing us away, and then you tracked down a crowdfunder and got your money. Like, this all became like funny and interesting and everything. And now, ironically, the big names in Comicsgate are like refusing to refund people, and people are getting mad. Their books are 5 years late.
It's to a point where I'm embarrassed that I even had anything to do with it, because why would I want to be like known as the guy that created a shit show?
Well, first off, John Delarose created Comicsgate. He's been telling everybody, so there you go. So he can.
Let him have it, I guess.
But I always hated the term Comicsgate. Like, I hated the term Gamersgate. It's just like enough.
Well, that's what I pushed for it, because it was a natural, like, there was Gamersgate.
Right.
Like, well, this is a natural progression. You can combine them together, And I didn't think it was going to last. We're going on here almost a decade.
Right.
And people are still using the term Comicsgate. Well, if you flip it to Gamergate lasted like a year, maybe.
You see, I'm not a video gamer, so I didn't know about. I heard about it in circles. At this time when I was listening to you, boy Zach, I was also listening to Sargon of Akkad. But once they started making like 8 videos a day, I just couldn't keep up, and I lost interest. But like, I don't know, like, it was a fan move. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. So what was Comicsgate then back then? What do you, what was it about? What were the principles? What was the purpose of it?
I mean, yeah, it was basically just, a group of people that like reading comic books, and more or less, just talking about them. It was fun to make fun of them, especially when they were, that bad. There was a point where, like, I think every main Marvel character, they swapped them from like a man to a woman.
Right.
You're just like, okay, like, what is this?
Yeah, I forget the exact year, but somewhere around 2014, 2015, my buddy who owned a comic book store, he said once a week, without fail, a family would come into the comic book store because, oh, we love the Marvel movies. Oh, we're gonna pick up Captain America, and then they get the comic book. Oh, Captain America it's not Steve Rogers. It's black guy Steve. Okay, all right. You know what? We'll get Iron Man. Oh, Iron Man's a black 14-year-old teenage girl that steals things. Okay. You know what? We'll get Thor. Oh, Thor is a woman, and she has cancer. It's like, all right,
Well, this is a bummer.
Yeah. How about we pick up these Pokemon cards and never come back?
Yeah.
Like clockwork.
And it's crazy because that was also at the height of their movies.
Right.
And their movies are trash now, but they were like peak then. So they should have had everything like perfect.
Right.
You could have done all this, like, and any of those ideas. Well, the female cancer thing's weird, but like, Sam Wilson, is that what being Captain America? That's a fine idea, but like, not with everything else going on. Like, you want your main hitters to be like selling the comics.
Right. It to the point where it's so catastrophically bad that it had to have been planned. Like, nobody could fumble this bad. Marvel Comics, people were going into comic book stores and leaving and never coming back. Like, I remember the Batman 89 movie, they were selling comic books in the movie theater. And I was working in a comic book store at that time. People were coming in to buy Batman comics because in 1988, Batman to the normie was still Adam West Batman. A few people would pick up comics every once in a while. A few normies, they're like, yeah, Batman's not like that. But for the average person, like, I remember the commercials for the Batman 89 movie. They're like, wow, bang, zang. Tim Burton's new movie is back. Like, they all started with that, bang, pow, zoom.
That's what those Adam West shows were still on TV.
Correct. Yeah. Adam West was
I mean,
still
I
making.
was really young during that period, but like we would watch it when we would come home from school.
Right. I bought the DVDs. I still love them. But I also love the Neil Adams modern Chuck Dixon Batman. But I knew that, and I remember telling people, no, it's going to be a dark movie. And then of course I'm like, yeah, Tim Burton. I mean, Michael Keaton's going to be Batman. They're like, oh, so it's going to be funny.
Because he is
Uh,
pretty hilarious.
yeah. So I was like, oh man, but they capitalized on it, and that movie sold freaking comics, and they made the comics kind of like the movies. Marvel did the exact opposite. Every one of those Marvel movies was making $1 billion, and the comics went out of the way to alienate.
So the exact opposite. And the thing is, the movies weren't like, I mean, they were good, but they're not like the greatest movies or anything. They just gave people exactly what they wanted.
Right? Yeah, they were successful. I mean, for at one point it was a stream of $1 billion hits.
Yeah, like no, they they didn't think Black Panther was going to blow up like it did.
No. Nobody did. Speaking of Adam West, once tried to make videos by 70s media. Harrowberg says hello, that he loved your videos. Batman credit card good through forever. Yeah, I remember that. So this was Comicsgate. Was are you guys regular people, military guys? Like, Richard Meyer was in every branch of the service. Regular blue collar guys talking about comics and fighting with friendly fight with each other. You know what I mean? Like, and then at one point it changed. It went from a fan reaction to a brand. When did you get out? Was there like an event that you said I'm done, or did you just slowly lose interest?
Well, so I was on deployment at one point, and I came back, and that's when like everybody that's doing crowdfunding was really starting, and so I'm not sure how many books that like because what was it? It was the Trump books, which is pretty so Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini had done the Trump comics, and Ethan Van Sciver made like a thing about, he doesn't think comics should be political or whatever, which is pretty ironic nowadays. But
he did a Trump cover for Cyberfrog.
But and if you remember, like the first Cyberfrog book had something about Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the '90s comic.
No, I think the first Cyberfrog that he did, I don't remember what they're called, the titles of them are, but
the crowdfunded ones.
Yeah,
they might well have been the '90s comics. It came out so long ago.
Anyways, so yeah, so he was like sort of gaslighting Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini's books, and then yeah, so I saw what was going on, and saw that he was like being very passive aggressive about it. So that's when everything basically fell through right there.
Did you just give up? I mean, you're on deployment, so I understand you can't do YouTube.
I had just so I had just gotten back, and I'm on like one of the streams with it was like at the end of Ethan's crowdfunding stream, and then like literally like a week later I figure out that he's like trying to gaslight and put down Tim Lim and Douglas Ernst, and I've been friends with these people and met these people before, so they were actual friends. I've never met Ethan Van Sciver, so seeing him do that, I'm like, well, I mean, who am I going to be loyal to? My actual friends, or, you know, some dude on the internet, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. And then I just remember, I think everybody started to, and I, you know, I got caught up in it. You know, I watched Comics Artist Pro Secrets for a long, long time, and I was at a job where I was doing just working by myself with my headphones on. I could listen to 4-hour streams, and then I got another job where I was working with a partner, and I couldn't. So I just fell out of the habit of listening. And then when I came back, I'm like, I don't like this.
His videos were good when he was actually like doing like tutorials and talking about like the background information in his comics and such.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed that too. I didn't particularly care about the Star Wars stuff because I just lost interest in Star Wars after the sequel movies almost killed them for me, and then I got interested again in the prequels, and then they were garbage. So I was like, I'm done with Star Wars. But talk about Star Wars all you want. I'm just not interested. But and then Eric July came out, and I don't know what the F happened to Comicsgate, because at first it was the greatest thing ever. I was a good comic skater. I bought ISOM 1 and I bought ISOM 2. I didn't particularly like it, but I kept my mouth shut because Ethan was telling me how wonderful it was. And then all of a sudden it's the worst thing in the world. It's garbage. And I didn't particularly like it, so I felt like, oh, okay. But why did you tell me it was good? And
why did you tell me it was good?
And then I realized he told me this book was good. This book was, and then one day I just said, you know what? Godlike is the worst comic I've ever read, and that was it. I think that put me on the radar. And then one day I said, Ethan goes, "Who wants to do a trash cast tonight? It's Friday night. Let's do a trash cast." And I said, oh, "Come on, Ethan. It's Friday night. Let's do anything than talk about comics that we don't like. You've already talked about it for months." And it's important. I said, it's not important. It's not important. And then the final straw was, he's going on, Ripper's destroying crowdfunding. Ripper's destroying crowdfunding. And I said, come on, man. How? How is he destroying crowdfunding? First off, he doesn't crowdfund. He pre-orders. He says I said, well, then don't give him anything to fight about. Don't give him any ammunition. Make your comics come out on time. Make your comics good. Hire an editor, because, your boy Zach, he got on my nerves with saying, "Oh, your comics read like," he didn't say it to me. He was just talking to general, like because everybody was getting on his case about his books being so late. And he goes, everybody is complaining about late books. He goes, but their books read like they came out on time. And I'm like, oh, that's a pretty arrogant statement, considering Jawbreakers is unreadable. Considering
it really is.
On Iron Sights, the art was great. The only Splato comic that was good was a Rock and Roll Ninja, and he didn't even write it. I was just like, the last Jawbreakers book, I was just like, I waited 3 years for this, and you're insulting everybody. Like Reenie puts out her books. I don't know if you know Reenie draws. She does a book called Fiendish. Her book comes out on time. It's freaking excellent. The storytelling is great. The art is great. The characterization is great. This like alternative books come out on time. They're fun reads. They're cheap, and I'm paying $35 for comics that take 5-6 years to come out, and then I'm being told, yeah, my comics come out good because they're quality, and then Jawbreakers is absolute garbage.
And the thing is the reality is, when you take that long, like, you're building up expectations that are unachievable. Because if I'm waiting years for something, well, by the time it gets there, I don't even want to read it anymore. The longer you wait, the more the expectations are that it better be like the best thing ever, especially for the prices that you're paying.
Right.
It's different if it's fairly cheap and you don't expect much. You're like, oh, okay, and then you read it, it exceeds your expectations, and you're like, oh, well, that was pretty fun.
Yeah. And then like again, you're one of the early Comicsgate guys, and one of the early legends of Comicsgate is, you could ask 10 people, you get 10 different stories. You track down this guy using your ranger skills and
My
got your
ranger skills.
you know what I mean?
I'm
I've heard the story so many times. It was actually funny to hear it from you. And it's so like mundane when you hear the real story. I just happened to be going out to lunch with my wife and I saw this guy walking by. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I heard you were tracking him down. I heard he was avoiding you like a court server. You know what I mean?
He tracked me. He was like chasing me down the street.
That makes it even funnier. So like the one of the earliest legends of Comicsgate is, we'll give me my refund. I'm one of the founders. Give me my refund. And now
I didn't like, if you want to be on reality, like I didn't care about the refund. It was more like he was yelling at me, so I was yelling something truthful back at him. Like, you owe me money. You're coming at me.
Right. That makes it even funnier. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about $40 here.
And then
that's like, it's $40, but it's only $40.
Right. It's a lot of money, but it's not really a lot of money. But it's enough money to be annoying. It's enough money to like,
Like, dude, you owe me $40. You're coming up to me.
Let's put it this way: $40 to take your wife out to dinner is nothing. $40 for a comic book is a different story.
Yeah.
A comic book shouldn't cost $40. I'm crowdfunding. My comic's $10, and I feel bad charging that much. It's a freaking comic book. There was a comment here. So, do you still follow you boy Zach at all?
I mean, if I'm being honest, every time I've gone, I'll check in like every year or so, and it's like still the same shtick as like 2019 or something like that. It's like what are we really still talking about? The same stuff every single time.
Well, I had, like I said, I was one of his early insiders. Like, I'm a pretty loyal guy, so like every day I would come home and I would open up my mail. I'd sit in this chair. I have my iPad right here, and I'd put on your boy Zach, listen to him while I was doing my mail, paying my bills. You know what I mean? And it was like a comforting routine that I enjoyed. Like, I didn't listen to him at work because I wanted to sit and absorb it. And then, okay, he started talking about the party clowns, the movie reviewers who don't really watch the movies. Okay, that was funny. That was interesting. And then, like 2 months later, I'm like, shut the hell up about Critical Drinker. I don't care. I don't listen to Critical Drinker. Like, why do I listen? Like, what are you offering me?
By the time Critical Drinker came around, like, I was like over, because I went to college around, well, I graduated in 2020, so like I stopped reading comics. I stopped even watching like football and such because I got to read books, I got to write papers, I got to do I want to watch the Chiefs game for 3 hours, or do I want to get this paper done?
Yeah.
So like when I checked in like after that, it's like a lot of this, we're still talking about the same stuff, but it's like you can legitimately see that the comics are, even now the comics aren't still really that great, but like they're significantly better than they were back in 2016.
I'll take your word for it, because I honestly, my channel's like, maybe I'm never going to grow because I'm not talking about the new comics either. I'm still talking about like older comics and more obscure comics. Like I'm going backwards as time goes forward in comics. Talking about old Ditkos and creepy.
Well, I think at some point you got to like end some of these things, like to a certain point. We're at like what decade or how many years have like Spider-Man, for example, been going on? It's like sometimes it's got to end, right? Like, right. I mean, otherwise you're just going in circles, And it's like, well, we've seen this before.
Right. Yeah. That's why the youth are going after manga, because
they'll end it,
because it's a beginning, it's a middle, it's an end, it's easy. If you
Yeah.
want to get into One Piece, you just pick up the first One Piece, not the first One Piece from Planet Zero that's a multi-dimensional, and then it's you know what I mean. It's not. It's easy. It's cheap. It's what, $10, and you get like 100-page graphic novel. You know what I mean?
And you could literally like start at the beginning of any story arc, and it essentially like you won't know exactly what's going on, but you
Right.
can make it through it.
Right. Like I had a guy on my channel the other night because I talked to a woman who's crowdfunding her own comic, and she said her boyfriend just started getting into comics. I said, I'd like to talk to him. I'm curious about like what does a newbie, how do they get into comics? He likes Conan and stuff like that. I was kind of hoping he would talk about Fantastic Four and Superman stuff, but he's not interested in superheroes. But like, I went to a free comic book day. I met Billy Tucci at a comic store, and he lives nearby me. So while he's being Billy Tucci talking to all his fans, I just started talking to some guy. I'm leaning back and we're just talking about comics. And he's like, "Oh, I came here because my daughter." He's like, "I'm not into comics." So he brings over his 16-year-old daughter, who I wouldn't have talked to, but her father was right there. So he's like, she's like, and she started saying she likes older comics more than new comics. She goes, back before all the renumbering, it was so easy to get into comics. She goes, I pick up, Spider-Man 129, and it's from 1974, and then they reference he fought Stegron in 138. She goes, I know that's a year and a half ago. I pretty much could guess the price of the comic. I know, you know what I mean? She goes, now, like, if they reference something else, like, is this the #1 series from the 80s? Is this the #1 series from 2005, or whether they rebooted it? 2000? She goes, it makes no sense. And she also said something that impressed me. She goes, they also had writers on the comics for a long time, so each comic had their own unique feels. She goes, all the comics now, they all feel like they're the same, right? I was like, wow, this from the mouth of babes,
Well, and it's interesting. Another thing too is, and a lot of people credit this with Brian Michael Bendis, but the 6-issue story arc,
right?
And it works if somebody does it well, but a lot of the times, the first issue or the second issue, random issues will like end so jarringly, where you're like, why is it ending in this fashion? Or
for the trade,
you'll read the entire 6 issues and you're like, nothing really happened this whole time.
Right. I'll read, I've been saying this for a long time, but I'll read a Jack Kirby Stan Lee comic, and it's so dense and filled with everything. And then I'll read Brian Michael Bendis was ground zero for the destruction of comics, if you ask me. But like, I'll read a Brian Michael Bendis comic, and I'm like, this was nothing. Nothing happened.
It literally takes you like 5 minutes.
Right. This is fluff, and they fill a trade paperback with a 6-issue story that Jack Kirby could have done in one whole issue. Like, seriously, read the first appearance of the Black Panther, and was it 50?
It'll take you like 45 minutes.
Right. You're sitting there. Like, sometimes I'm looking at my stack of comics. I'm like, I don't want to pull out one of these comics from the 60s. I don't have that much time. I got to get going. Yeah. But back to you boy Zach. Like, he made a career out of making fun of Heather Antos, Max Visaggio, the other one who wrote America Chavez that I can't remember. And he was pretty scathing and pretty mean. And now, because he went with the party clowns, that's funny. That's funny. I don't care about movie reviews. I don't watch your channel to listen about you hating movie reviewers. Like, his movies taste sucked anyway. And then Gabby Rivera, thank you, Harold Berg. And then I just stopped. I just stopped listening to him cold turkey. And then next time I hear from him, somebody pointed out, hey, look, your boy Zach is making fun of you. I'm like, me? What did I do? Yellow Flash said that about the why can't I think of the girl John Wick movie? What was it called? The ballerina.
Oh, I never seen that.
And he said, I said, when I saw the black woman head of the whatever. I forget exactly what it was, but the black woman who was in charge of the troop, it pulled me out of the movie. Now, he quoted that and says, Boomer doesn't think that an international spy organization that infiltrates would have a black woman. And my next quote was, but besides that, I really liked the movie. My wife bought the DVD.
It's the same thing as the Batman one when they made the black woman the mayor or whatever. It was like, it just makes you chuckle because you know why they put that character in there, and then you move on with the movie.
But the whole exchange was, so I went to his comments. I said the whole thing is they're Ruska Rubin. They're an ethnic group. They're an ethnic group, and they don't infiltrate. They're hired. They just go in, they kill. I said, how come if they need all these ethnic groups to infiltrate, how come everybody in the organization is Ruska Rubin except the one supervisor who's a black woman? We all know why. So knock it off. I said, and then I said, I love the movie. I asked him for a refund, and to his credit, he refunded everything. But like, and now his new thing is these grumpy conservatives. It's like, oh, you mean your fan base? Like,
I mean, that's what he literally pretended like he was for a decade.
Right, literally pretended.
When I first met Richard, he had a huge Twitter account. I think he might have had like 50,000 followers or something like that. And all he did was whatever was going on with the liberal media for the day, he would argue and make fun of all the liberals talking about it. And that was like his shtick. And then for whatever reason, he nuked that account, just like he repackaged his YouTube account and all that. I don't know other than that, but yeah, it's pretty weird. Why would you fight over somebody else's review or opinion of a movie? Like, I mean, if they don't like the movie, whatever. That's like when if somebody makes fun of your favorite band, it's like, if somebody makes fun of Metallica, it's like, well, I don't care if you don't like Metallica because I'm going to listen to it more.
Right. Well, it's the same thing. It just seems like again, I'll give your boy Zach the benefit of the doubt because he was always hesitant to call himself Comicsgate. So I think he just did it to shut people up, whatever. But like, he's still lumped in, as one of the original guys. But like, Comicsgate has, first off, it's not a fan movement anymore. They don't respond to fans. It's not, and then they don't refund you and they don't accept criticism, because my criticism, man, I got nuked for more of it. And like I said, I meant it constructively. Like, hey, we should be watching out. We are crowdfunders. I told the story about how, like, at work, I was telling everybody I was making a comic, and everybody at work was like, oh, that's cool. Wow. I was like, and they're all taking money out of their pocket to give me money for a comic book. And I'm like, no, you got to go to a website. And then in like 9 months, maybe 12 months, and they all like, get out of here. Like, it's hard to sell crowdfunding to normie people. And
because they want it immediately. That's the big thing with, let's say, Douglas Ernst, is when he gets his book done, he announces it, and you get it like within the week, mailed to your house. Like, that's completely different. That's first off, that's a pretty big gamble.
Right. Yeah. What if nobody wants it?
And then he gives it right to you, so that's a huge deal to me, in my opinion, because the thing I've always not liked about crowdfunding is, you're playing a gamble just even funding it, right. and then when are you going to get it? Right.
And then I'm told, you're funding our lifestyle while we make the book. So I'm like, really? Then why am I watching you on Trashcast for 6 hours a day? Because get your ass in the studio, start drawing that freaking comic that I'm funding you for. I don't know. I mean, let's be realistic. Comicsgate with Ethan Van Sciver bought the copyright, and it's his. He's the king of it. He's the boss. It's his. It's not a fan. It became a brand, and when it metastasized into a brand, I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm embarrassed. Like you said, I'm embarrassed that I was into it for so long, and I'm embarrassed that it took me so long to realize that it's killing crowdfunding. There's no other way to say it. You know, it's Ripper, his newest comic, he's got 2,000 pre-sales. Okay, I'm sure that's nothing compared to Marvel, but the Pitt Omnibus has what, 900 sales? Pitt, Pitt was one of the bigger things. Dale Keown is a comic book legend, and it's and this is Blue Shift, and written by a guy who was the guy who wrote Social Media for Eric July, and his comic just sell 2,000 copies. Man, I'd be dancing in the street if my comic sold 2,000 copies. Mandy Summers would be dancing in the street if Pitt sold 2,000 copies, but it didn't even sell half of what the newest Ripper. And they're telling me it's failing. How
it's failing? They've been saying it's failing for like 2 or 3 years now.
Right. Comicsgate
if it was really failing, like publishers that are really failing, you don't hear about them again. They're gone. They're dust in the wind. If he's continually putting out books and delivering them, that sounds like a success.
Right, and he has like Ripascend, so he's going to start delivering other people's books. That I'm convinced the next step is he's going to make a deal with the printer, and he'll be able to, like, I think that would be awesome, because I remember people saying that, Ethan, I think I even said it in the super chat, like, you got the money, you should become like, not the boss of Comicsgate, but like, this is the one shop spot. You want it printed, we'll find you an editor. We got like a clipboard over here. We got artists that we could trust, and we got inkers that we could trust. You know what I mean? Almost like a bulletin board. One-stop shopping. We'll help you make your comic book, but we all got to make sure that it comes out on time, that the comics are good. I was like all for that, and I could see Ripper doing that. Like another year from now, I can see.
He's actually, he's had. What was it? The first book was a little bit late, but right. From that time, he's learned from, when you're learning on the fly, things are going to happen. Right. But, he's learned on the fly, and he's, progressing more and more each year. The difference between Eric July and Ethan is Ethan's just lazy. Like, you look at his entire career, like, he's always been perpetually late, even at DC Comics.
In his defense, when he's on his game, he's a phenomenal comic book artist.
Yeah,
right.
I would agree with it. Everybody would agree with that. That's the problem, is you got to keep him. You got to keep him motivated.
Like, so he needs a boss or something. You know what I mean? Like, he needs like a monster on his shoulder biting his ear whenever he does, like a Greek mythological creature or something. And I'm at the point where I'm starting to think that he can't draw anymore. Like, it's like it's been
too long.
I have no proof. I just based it on observation. Like, I saw him in the hospital. He put up videos, and then ever since then, I see like 1 or 2 pages through, and I don't follow him anymore. But on Twitter you see it. I follow people that were virtuous, and I'm like, oh, I've seen that same page 3 times, and the book is 5 years late. And then he put a Rainbow of the Brute that was just awful, and then I just don't see any. I saw 3 pages in 5 years of new material, and he's gotten nastier and nastier, and the people that he picks on are smaller and smaller. Like, I'm nobody, and I'm tough. You can pick on me. There's nothing you could possibly do. His fans don't buy my books, And, what do you want me to say? I'm uncancelable. I don't care. I make my money through construction. So whatever you want. But I don't see any future in this. Andy Smith, he's a good guy. His last book didn't hit 20,000. And I have to laugh because Nexus, and I love Mike Barron. Mike Barron's Nexus book, the omnibus, went over 100,000. That was a big omnibus.
Yeah, that's pretty huge.
Yeah, Steve Rude hates Comicsgate, and Ethan's like, "Look at Comicsgate. They said we were dead." It's like, go tell Steve Rude you Comicsgate. hey, Steve Rude, you Comicsgate? He would
Oh,
flip.
Ethan loves Steve Root's artwork.
Well, everybody loves his art, but I talked to him and I asked him about comics, and he was like, "F those guys," you know. And then I feel bad saying this. Mike Barron's book Leviathan did like $18,000 to $20,000. Ethan never talks about it. How come? But that's Comicsgate, right? You know, you know, Graham
It's
Nolan.
basically like kicking a can down the street at this point. I'm
Right.
actually surprised it's like lasted this long. It's kind of sad, but it's like a dog that needs to be put down.
Well, it's they keep doing pull and they shock. It's like, let's make fun of Eric July. We'll make fun of the pull. John's Longbox said something. Let's attack him now. You know, but no, we're not talking about comics.
Because if you're into YouTube and just like, trash talking, it's like whatever, but none of that's comics,
Right. Yeah, it's not comics. Maybe I don't know, because I talk about nothing but comics. The past week I've been talking about CG, but like, Chuck Dixon was on yesterday, and that's what we wanted to talk about. And it's funny because right now, as we're talking, Lord Raptor Jesus is talking about me. He's like the angel, the positive me, and literally right now, Ethan Van Sciver's EFAP in the same screen talking about how I'm an idiot or whatever. Now Chuck Dixon is probably going to be the new guy to attack. But like, that still don't make your comic come out.
What's funny is Chuck Dixon's like one of the like nicest guys in the industry. He'll work with anybody. He'll talk to anybody. He's like a do it all guy.
Right. Yeah, many of the other CG guys aren't like Shan, Andy. Yeah, they're not lazy. And I don't know if Phil.
Anybody that's delivering and anybody that likes, that is the people like their comics. That's nothing against them. The whole point of Comicsgate was you're being disrespectful to the customer, and your comics suck. So like that's just terrible business. So if you're doing when Comicsgate became exactly what it was against,
yep.
It's basically you can't. It's just terrible.
Right. It literally is what
probably worse. It's worse than what we were going against.
Yeah, it's worse because it's even nastier. But like, I remember like a couple of weeks, like about 6 or 7 months ago, somebody asked Gail Simone, and it's funny because now I'm going back and revisiting, like, do I hate Gail Simone, or was I told to hate Gail Simone? Like I just talked with
Gail Simone used to be like really good friends with
right,
with Ethan.
Right. And you know what's funny?
They probably still are. I don't know.
She reached out and communicated with me like 2 times in the past 3 weeks. And then, because I don't watch Ethan, and then somebody sent me a clip of Ethan like, oh, now everybody's getting buddy with Gail Simone. So he must have noticed that she said something to me on Twitter. It's like, what are you afraid we're going to talk to Gail Simone, learn some secrets? Like out of the blue, Gail Simone, and
I've talked to her in DMs before because she likes to gossip about how Ethan. I won't say what she said, but
Yeah. I've been saying this from the beginning. Leaking DMs is the gayest thing ever, and that's what Comicsgate is. Like,
this person said this,
right? But anyway, what I was saying about her is somebody asked her about Comicsgate, and I forget who it was, and she said that's still around. Like, we were supposed to be a gadfly on Marvel and DC, and it's like somewhere along the way the wings fell off, and it's just like rolling around in dirt, and like.
I mean, when I was, because I was the one that was pushing that it should just be called that, because I wanted, inevitably I knew this thing was like, it was going to have a short lifespan. And, I was correct because Ethan took it over and killed it. But in retrospect, I knew that if everything went perfect, it was going to have a short lifespan anyways. You make fun of Marvel Comics, essentially, how long can that last?
Right. Well, I think it's metastasizing into something different now because, like,
now it's all about crowdfunding and hating other crowdfunders. And it's like,
Right.
well, you shouldn't. The thing about like the little guy is that's what the big companies want is the little guys to all fight with each other
Right. Right. It's the
because they
comic.
win when you do that.
Right.
I would
I mean,
honestly say, I was saying this the other day. Personally, I think Comicsgate and in particular Ethan Van Sciver hurt comic book readership in general. Not just crowdfunding. He definitely hurt that. Like huge damage to it because many people were like, I'm never, doing buying a crowdfunder again. But
right.
I would say almost like regular comics because would you want to have anything to do with comic books if you go on Twitter or, X now and you see the way these people are behaving online, you're like, ugh, like maybe comics are a little too gay for me. I don't know.
Yeah. I see actors attacking politicians or whatever, and I don't want to see their movies. You know what I mean? And I'm not, like I'm not like a movie super fan. Like I'm a movie normie. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
can imagine regular normal people who see a Captain America movie, they look it up and they fall into some rabbit hole and they're like, this is the you know between the behavior of people like Dan Slott and then Kurt Busiek, who's an absolute freak, and then
Oh
Ethan Van.
man.
You know what I mean? It's just like I don't want to support any of these weirdos. I don't want to have anything. And like so Comicsgate started roughly around like 2015. The roots were dug in, and here we are 10 years later. Gail Simone is still writing the X-Men. What has it accomplished?
Literally nothing.
Right. She was the big bugbear. Your boy Zach, the wine auntie, Gail Simone. She's still working for Marvel. Nothing's changed. Like it was
Because
supposed to
she
be.
gets her comics done.
We were supposed to create an alternate to the mainstream. Well, they don't know us.
They figured we died.
Right. They don't even talk about us anymore. Like when I say us, I'm talking about like all of crowd. Like, Tom Brevoort, Marvel, even what's his name? That asshole who does that Rich something that does the comics journalist.
Oh yeah, the Bleeding Cool.
Yeah, those guys, they don't talk about us anymore.
Because there's nothing.
There's nothing to talk about because anytime anybody sticks their head up, Ethan trash casted them. I was just saying they call them. Ethan's chat calls themselves trashies. How effing gay is that? Trashies. We're Swifties and trashies. I mean, listening to the music he listens to or hearing about the music he listens to, I wouldn't be surprised. But it is the gayest thing going. Nobody, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it all.
Right. like Rich Johnson. Thank you. I couldn't think of his name. And what's the other?
He used to love baiting people.
Right. We're not even bait worthy anymore. Why bother? We don't get the clicks.
What is there to click? I mean, there's no comic. There's no, you can only, yell. You can only yell. What's the term? Like Nazi so many times.
Right.
And it's like, well, comics ain't even scary because they don't sell any books. They don't deliver any books. And when I say that, like you said earlier, Shane, Andy, Graham, Billy, the people that are delivering, I'm not counting them, but the main person, the main.
If I'm a little annoyed at Graham because he's on a stream and Ethan is talking crap about Chuck Dixon. This was before Chuck even came on. And Graham's just sitting there drawing. Like, he should have been like, hey, listen, that's my buddy. That's my buddy. Have a little respect. You know what I mean? Because they worked together for so long. I don't know. If somebody started talking about one of the guys that I worked with for 20 years, I'd be like, knock it off. That's my buddy. That's what, so I almost can't even look at him. And then, like, every once in a while, it's just like Comicsgate. And I'm like, oh. So I said to him, I shouldn't have said, I do a lot of things I shouldn't have done. And I just said, sorry, Graham, I can't support anything Comicsgate anymore. And that was my last communication I had with him. Not that he's gonna miss me, like who the hell am I? But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just don't care. I just
that's
don't
pretty
care.
disappointing to hear. I mean, because like we said at the beginning of the stream, I heard Ethan was doing this against, my friends, and I go, well, I'm going to defend my friends,
Right. That's what a man does. Right.
And here I hear, Graham, who he had a career with, Chuck Dixon for a lifetime, and I hear he's not defending his friend. Well, I mean, I don't know the full context, I'll assume the best, but whatever.
Aaron Presti tweeted a picture. He goes, I went to a Chinese restaurant and I got a fortune cookie, and he goes, without a fortune, and he showed a picture of like a unopened fortune cookie with no fortune in it. He goes, what does that mean? And I said, it's the future of Comicsgate. He said, yeah, for real. So I said, what are you doing in Comicsgate? He goes, where else am I going to go? IDW? I said, go to Ripper. You don't think Ripper would pay you? I said, be by yourself. Have faith in your own freaking talent. You're an amazing talent. Wrath of God is one of the best comics out. You have to say your Comicsgate and kowtow to this guy who can't deliver comics, who hangs out with OnlyFans girls and eats garbage. You know what I mean? It's embarrassing. Have some self fucking respect. So again, who the hell am I? But I'm a guy who can't shut my mouth. I can't wait for tomorrow's Trashcast. We're going to be on Trashcast tomorrow, right?
Oh, well.
Ethan's got to pay his bills somehow.
Yeah.
I love it. He's been going around telling everybody I'm broke. John's broke.
Isn't he the one that like can't pay his bills or something like that?
Right. And then Preston Poulter is hitting him up because he's not paying his legally whatever it is, his damages. I can't even talk. So I'm just laughing.
How much damages does he have? Like,
I don't know. Somebody just told me, and I looked at it and I laughed. Yeah, it's always projecting. He talks about allies instead of friends. The same thing Heather Antos used to say. And back to you, boy Zach. Like, it's like, look at all these conservatives. They're complaining about this, complaining about that. The next post is about Max Versaggio. It's like, dude, Max Versaggio hasn't made a comic book in years, and you're dwelling on this, and you're gonna bust whatever guy's chops for dwelling on that. Yellow Flash or.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you go to every time I've gone to Richard's channel, it's always it's like it's 2019. You're like, well, it's 2025. Like, comics aren't the same as 2019. Like, they may be slightly different. They might be mostly the same, but it ain't the same. Like, you go and look at the comics, it's complete. I've never even heard of half the people that are making comics nowadays.
Yeah. I read someplace that Marvel is trying to reduce their page. We're talking art, writing, inking, everything, editing, to $200 a page.
It's crazy to me that when I found out that comics pay so little, I mean, it has to be like the lowest paying job there is, and you're basically you're working on for notoriety, so you can make more somewhere else.
Now, all I can think of is, if you're a writer, you must bang out a script real quick, because if you spend any time on a script, it's less than minimum wage, and all the artists live out of the country, so like maybe it's decent for them, but like all the money goes to the cover. Mark Brooks is getting, I don't know how much Mark Brooks gets for a cover, but that's all Marvel is it might as well be a postcard shop.
Yeah, because they've complete everything that they've ever done, all the getting back the original art and stuff like that, to try to lower costs so they don't have to pay the artists. And then the writer, they don't want to pay the writer. And so what happens is you got to bust out a script like super quick.
Right. I'll say this. I'm not going to give out specific numbers, but I made one comic book. I made $8,000 on it, and I pay more than $200 a page. So Marvel guys, you want to raise? Work for Long Box Comics. Have you ever thought about making your own comic or crowdfunding or anything? And forgive me if you did and I don't know about it.
I mean, I haven't even thought about it at one point, but I've been so busy lately. Um, but I still have like a couple of years left in the military. I'm going on deployment, so like, plus I've never, whenever I've tried to like do a group type project, it's like I'll want to do it, and get it done, but then I always feel disappointed when, you're getting with your collaborators or whatever, and it's like it seems like the people you're collaborating with aren't as on board as you are with whatever you're doing. That's what my experience has been.
It's
So when I've
funny.
seen, so
I'm
like,
a,
so if you look at the guys on like iconic comics, for example, Doug, Tim, Mark, all those guys are like the exact opposite. Like they came together, and it's like it was incredible to see, them get everything done and work as a team almost. You know,
yeah, I totally agree. I'm kind of a control freak, so like, but I pay for everything. So everything, whatever, if it's good, if it's bad, ultimately it's my fault, But
yeah,
I'd like to think that I'm picking guys, but like I'm I'm thinking of a couple of collaborations, and it's nerve wracking because one guy I'm collaborating with, and man, it is the easiest thing in the world. It's like playing like a little kid. It's like when you're a little kid and you and a friend just come up with a story and you're playing.
yeah,
It's that easy. It's that easy. And then a couple of people, I was like, okay, all right, let's stop now. And they're like, yeah, okay, before we get mad at each other. But like, I understand what you talk about. It's hard to share an idea, So like it's amazing that like a band will last as long as it does. Like any band, like Aerosmith to the Beatles to Metallica. It's you know what I mean. You get four personalities that they all unless they like. I wrote the song. I'm in charge. To me, that's like the only way a band could work. You know what I mean? Okay, you wrote the song. This is yours. You're the boss now for your.
that's basically Megadeth. Like Dave Mustaine, like basically owns everything in the band.
Right? Yeah. Well, when without Dave Mustaine, Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. So PB over here says controversial opinion. Well, first off, thank you anybody who's still up this late. Wow, this was totally unplanned, unrehearsed. I just messaged him. Something buzzed in my head. Yeah, I know you stay up at night. So the Comics Kings can't market themselves, so they stick to EVS to try and get buyers. They don't have the following and don't want to admit it. Yeah, why? Like, I'm of two opinions of this. Well, first off, you're absolutely 100% correct. They don't. They think that they Marvel Comics did all the promoting for them. And I got to admit, as much as I'm a people person, I like to talk to people. I get tired of promoting my book, but you got to do it. Now, I have the luxury of I'm not financially dependent upon my book. If I stop tomorrow, it's not going to change anything. It'll actually make my life easier. But a lot of these guys, that's what they're not going to become plumbers. They're not going to become bricklayers. They're not going to become school teachers or cops. If their book don't sell, these guys are shit out of luck, So I understand that they're scared. I understand it. It was brave of them to leave Marvel, but honestly, did any of them have a choice? Like, if you're a writer, Marvel might take you back. Like they just took back D.G. Chichester, J.M. DeMatteis went back, But artists, Marvel don't take back big name artists. Are there any big name artists? So these guys, they act like they were brave leaving Marvel. They had no choice. So what are they going to do? Like Aaron Lopresti told me, he goes, "Where am I going to go? IDW?" And what I think, Aaron, it's like you're too limited thinking. What are you going to do? Market yourself. Market yourself. Take a chance on yourself. Like you have saddled your rope to an albatross. To a freak. Look at all these. It's like a freak show. And then, most of the Comicsgate audience, like Richard C. Meyer being the exception, but we all believed that we're like conservative Christians. You know,
Yeah.
none of these guys are like Ethan's not a conservative Christian. He's bragging about paying OnlyFans and stuff like that. Like,
That's just really. I remember when he did that. I was like, I remember it was like one of those actresses off one of the HBO shows, with the Sopranos or something. He's like, oh, you know, I paid for OnlyFans, and I was like, that's really weird and kind of gross. You know, why would you buy pornography?
Right. PB again is just firing bullseyes right here. Nolan, Tucci, Smith, Lopresti, and Thieber would actually be better off if they're released through Rippersend. Better pill to swallow. Yes, yes. First off, get back on Kickstarter. The whole Kickstarter, we don't like Kickstarter because they were mean to your boy Zach. That's freaking 8 years ago.
Well, that's also a narrative, because the reality is, he did a what's his book called?
Who's he?
What's Richard's book called?
Jawbreakers?
Jawbreakers. So he did a Jawbreakers book before the original one, and he never fulfilled it. He never completed it. And so that's why Kickstarter didn't allow him to do the original comic on it.
Really?
Because he didn't finish out his original Jawbreakers Kickstarter. So it had nothing to do with who Richard was or his politics. It's because he was late on a book and didn't finish it.
Really? Is there any way I could find that? You know,
let's see. Let me see if I can Google it real quick.
That is like that's like a seismic shift.
See if this is it. 2018. Yeah, I think this is it.
Send it through Twitter if you still got Twitter open.
Oh yeah.
That is. But I agree with you. Nolan, Tucci, Smith, Lopresti, Thieber, these guys, if they went through Rippersend, if they, you know, they would be introduced to a whole new market.
Yeah, this is definitely it, because it's his drawing.
Wow. Wow, he looks like a. Oh, that's his old picture. $3,000. Wow, 58 Packers. I'm gonna bring this up if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, I don't care.
But that changed everything, because it was all politics and self-righteousness and anger and everything, to the point I kind of felt a little bad when I put my comic on a.
It's like Fox News, you know. They always say it's this, and then you find out the backstory, and you're like, oh, it was just because
that's that's one of my pet peeves. Fox News, like CNN tells the truth. No offense.
It's like Fox News is like, you agree with their politics, or for the most part, but right. They're just as bad as CNN.
Right. Yeah, that's like my pet peeve. Oh, I like this guy's lies because I like what he's lying about. You know, I agree with his lie. Wow, I didn't know this. So here it is. Wow. What year is this? Last updated 2018.
So last updated 2018. That would have been like, he probably would have already started his Kickstarter. I don't remember.
Okay. Wow. I literally, because I bought his first book, Chosen. Did you ever read that about the in Korea? What is this? Why does he have a picture of Green Lanterns?
Probably because he was trying to attract people that like Ethan.
Commission cover with art by Richard and Eric White. Look at, I never knew this. Wow. And then he killed them all in the first comic, you know.
I don't even remember it. I just remember I did not like it at all.
I bought this. It was okay. It was okay, and I kind of wrote it off as like, well, it was his first book, came out a couple of years beforehand, you know. And I did like the first Jawbreakers book. It was goofy. It kind of, you know, it was like almost like a weird.
It wasn't bad. The artwork was good.
It wasn't great, but it was like it was a good
The
effort.
writing was the weakest point, but I mean, you kind of expected that.
The writing's the weakest point of my book too. You know what I mean? So and plus I liked them. I liked what they stood for, and like you boys, yeah, he said a lot of things that were right and truthful. I mean, I wouldn't listen to like it was kind of like F you, Marvel, I'm buying Jawbreakers. You know?
And for so in my perspective, because I knew what was going on. Like, first off, his book, even the first Jawbreakers book was late. Yet, you know, I know that all the artwork, the coloring, and everything was finished on time to get the book out on time. He just sat on it for whatever reason and made the book late because of whatever, you know, the deal is.
Well, look at this. Estimated delivery October 2015. So this is why he couldn't go on Kickstarter. He had an open campaign.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, it's Courtney. How you doing, Courtney?
So he lied about, you know, what the reason was. It's the same thing as he lied about the lawsuit.
Oh,
so I don't know if you know that. The lawsuit with Mark Waid.
What happened?
So he acted like Mark Waid calling Antarctic Press. Is that what it is?
Right.
So Mark Waid bullying Antarctic Press and making sure the comic wasn't published through them stopped him, tortious interference or whatever. The thing is, they already had other avenues to publish. So he lied when he said that and it stopped him from being able to publish. He had other avenues to publish the book, but he chose just not to do it because he wanted to sue Mark Waid. And it all came, you know, all that came out eventually.
So what was
the thing is the whole thing was mismanaged anyways. They took people's money, you know, crowdfunded for lawsuits.
Right.
That's always very sad.
That really bit him in the ass was when he settled out of court when all the people like, listen, dude, I crowdfunded you and you promised
it's because he mismanaged the whole thing. You know, lawsuits are very expensive, and if you don't get it done, you're just funneling money to the lawyers. You know, they're the ones benefiting.
And not only that, he quit his jobs and was living on that money.
I mean, think about how stupid that is.
My buddy Sean, we've been friends since fucking kindergarten, and he was on So You Want to Be a Millionaire. And I forget the exact money. He didn't win the million, but he won like the 100,000s around there. And he wins. He's going through a divorce, and then he quits his freaking job. I'm like, dude, you're going to lose him half that money in taxes, and then you're going to lose half that money again in the divorce. How much? What are you going to get? 40 grand?
That's the thing too, is when you win a large sum of money like that, they're taking like 50 or 60% in taxes.
Right. Like EVS, dude. Would you make 400 grand, $1 million on Cyberfrog 5 years ago? Divide that over 5 years, dude. I make
that much money.
I make that much money doing an honest job, going every day with health benefits and a pension plan and a 401k, and you're calling me broke. You know, it's like, dude, that's impressive. Now, if you made if the comic came out in 6 months and you started again, man.
And did it again and did it again and did it again.
Right. But following and buying customers ain't the same benefits. Well, but yeah. I wanted to talk about this too. Yellow Flash released his very first comic through Ripper. Said, Yellow Flash, like Ripper, he had his own audience. And he, you know, again, Chuck Dixon said this yesterday, that Ripper didn't steal anybody's fans. Ripper brought his own fans. Like he was saying, like he was telling people, Chuck Dixon is going to be writing Alpha Core. And Chuck Dixon goes, your fans don't give a shit about Chuck Dixon. They don't know who Chuck Dixon is, you know. And Ripper was like, dude, you've been working comics for 40 years. You're like, if not the most prolific, you're the second most prolific comic book writer. He's like, yeah, but your fans don't know that, you know. So these were new people to comics. So
yeah.
we when I say we, I'm talking about everybody in crowdfunding. We could have tapped into that. You know, a whole new fan base. Same with Yellow Flash. He talks about comics, but he also talks about Star Wars. He also talks about news. I bet you the comic book audience of Yellow Flash is probably, and he's a nice guy. I've been on his channel a few times.
Well, Yellow Flash is one of the original Comicsgate guys. He was doing it just as maybe not just as early as I was, but like by months, you know, he was doing the same thing.
Right.
So it's, you know,
right. You tap into that audience. A rising tide floats all boats. You know, like I'm known as the guy that doesn't particularly like Ripper books, but I'm friendly with the Ripper guys. And the Ripper guys are always like, hey, John, this book. I had a guy today message me out of the blue. I got an extra copy of Alpha Core #1. I'll mail it to you because I really like it. And I like you, and I want you to like Ripper. I said, well, I have that book. I like it. It's Chuck Dixon. Of course I bought it. You know, and he's like, oh, okay. I said, give it to somebody else. You know, I'm not going to take you. But this is how the Ripper guys try to win me over. The Comicsgate guys, they threaten to call me a pedophile. Oh, there you go. That's a lot of fun. That helps, you know. So this point that PB makes, yeah, this first-time comic guy, he makes $120,000. Now, again, I'm being mean. And it's probably because I'm up way too late. But it's like the Comicsgate Kings would kill to make $120,000 right now. And all I heard was, it's a failure. It's a failure. It's a failure. It's a failure. Ripper made $3 million last year. It's a failure. It's a failure. Oh, Pitt has 91 backers. Or, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever backers. It's a success. It's, you know, are we is your audience that stupid? Or do they just willful disbelief? And then I got to look at guys like Zaid, who's in here earlier. If you're still here, shout out. This guy, I respect the hell out of this guy. To me, he's a baby. He's a young kid. You know, he's probably 35, but that's a young kid when you're my age. The guy's printing his own comics now.
It's not hard. I mean, go read about like comic history. Like if you go back, I wrote, you know, my history.
Oh, he's here. He's 32. Okay, that's a baby to me. When you're 57 years old, Zaid, you're gonna see Phil. You're gonna see that they're babies. My wife went to the mall yesterday. Said I don't even want to look at girls because they could be anywhere from 40 to 16. You know, everybody's.
Yeah, who knows? When you see a woman on the street, she could be 25. She could be 16. You don't know.
Right. So I'm with my wife.
When you're old, you're just like, I'm just living my life.
Right. My point is, this guy's 32 years old. He's writing his own comics. His brother's drawing his own comics, and then him and his boss, they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're making a printing press. They're making their own comics.
And that's what they did back in the day. Like, if you go read the origins of National Comics, you know, Marvel Comics, these guys would sit in a room all weekend, all these guys drawing the pages, and then put it out and publish it and try to make a profit so they can put out the next book.
And I can't, because I you know, in the 80s, 90s, I was a punk rock kid. Like, at Discord, these guys were making their own record companies, you know, and pressing their own records. They went down to you know, wax pressing places and bought technologies. They chipped it. They slept on the floor in a van, you know what I mean? Pulled their money and literally learned how to press records and things like that. They loved
it, you know?
Right, because they loved it. They were hungry, you know. And
especially when you're young, like you'll sleep
it's
on
one thing when you're 18 years old, and you know what I mean, and you can stay up all night and drink.
I try to sleep on the floor, like my neck's gonna be like,
right. If I sleep on the floor, it's coming to get me. I totally understand what you're saying, but the point being is, I never heard like the guys from Discord slamming the guys from Alternative Tentacles who were doing the same thing, and the guys from Alternative, although that ended badly with Jello Biafra.
If anything, they would do it as a, you know, I could see like a marketing ploy, like we have a fake beef to create some sort of like, but it would all be like fake, you know, they wouldn't be actually like.
Right, then they would tour it together and everything. PB says, I'm not knocking anyone, it's just hard facts and negative. Yeah, negative marketing is very limited. They could do a lot more if they market themselves and do different things. Right. Ripper, you know, what does he call himself? Young Ripper? I don't even know how old is Eric July. I have no freaking
like early 30s.
Early 30s. And he's setting up a distributed company. He's setting up, I guarantee you he's going to be printing his own comics within 2 years. And he's already said he's making moves to get into comic book stores, because if he doesn't get into comic book stores, that's really bad. He's got the money, he's got the know-how, he's got the success, he's got Chuck Dixon, he's got Mike Barron, he's got Kelsey Shannon and Joe Bennett. He's got big names. The next step.
The thing is, he's learned a lot too, because when he first came out, I was going to buy his comic, but he said something, I said something, he said something, and I was like, well, if he's going to badmouth, argue with me, then I'm just not going to buy a comic, Yes. And so
you and him,
he's the exact, I've seen his personality, completely changed to where he's like pro customer, and anybody that's positive, it's all creating the community or whatever to sell people to, that's what the whole thing's supposed to be about. And when you see somebody like he was like this and they've made the change, it's hard not to like the guy then, you know what I mean? Like
he's been on my channel twice, he being Eric July, and I didn't know that he was that hated. The first time he came on, I didn't know he was that hated, and hated by a bunch of deranged lunatics, not hated by normal people. And a couple of people put in super chats. I don't get super chats. I'm too small. One of the things Richard C. Meyer said is he didn't like super chats. It made him feel like a cam girl. And then Nurkish said the same thing. And now whenever I get a super chat, I feel like I'm doing something dirty, So I totally understand. I totally understand where Richard, like I said, he was right for so long, and I don't know what happened to him. He self-sabotages, is what I think. But
yeah,
I was on, somebody super chatted $40. Now that's a lot of money for my channel. So I read it, and as I read it, it was an insult to Eric July. And I'm like, sorry, Eric. I was just excited. I got like the largest super chat and he was like, that's cool, man. Make the money. Like he was gracious about it. But and I apologize to him.
You understand the person paid all that money just to get it read, and it's like you just wasted your money just to have something read on screen.
Right. The most pathetic is like, hey, Ethan, can you tell me happy birthday? Like, you're sitting in your basement in like cum-stained underwear asking Ethan to tell you happy birthday. It's like, how pathetic is that? Jesus Christ. I can't think of anything sadder than that. But, but whatever. Go get a job. I'm going to work to give $40 to insult somebody on the internet who never did nothing to me. I could see super chat and $10 to be like, hey, listen, Heroic Tales is on Fund My Comic. And you do that to Yellow Chat. You know what I mean? As a promotion, to me that's worth $10. But like, say happy birthday to me. Ripper sucks. That is $10. What a freaking loser. That's no different than going into a strip club and holding up $10, and she comes over and pats you on the head and takes your money and laughs at you when you're not around.
And laughs at you as she walks away.
Yeah.
Gives it to her pimp boyfriend.
Right. And she goes and makes out with her real boyfriend, and like you see all those stories of like guy gifted some OnlyFans girl a car, and thank you, hugs him, and then her and her boyfriend get in the car and drive away. You know what I mean? It's pathetic.
It's sad.
But my point is, Eric was on my channel twice. The second time, I had my wherewithal, and I didn't read any super chats that I didn't, and that I developed I'm not going to read just because you super chat. I'm not going to read it. I'm not a performing monkey. Like if you're super chatting to insult my guest, thank you for the money. Goodbye. But I had some criticisms about his comic that I said to his face, and he was gracious about it. And I said construct it, and I didn't mean it mean. It was concerns. Eric was cool about it. A couple of his people have been on my channel. We had wonderful talks, and I say constructive criticism about Comicsgate, and we're gonna call you the P word. We're gonna make fun of you. I thought Comicsgate was about constructive criticism. Like, that's the biggest thing about Eric July. You can't take criticism. All I said was we as crowdfunders need to be careful about crowdfunding. We need to get on chance when we see somebody abusing the crowdfunding system. We better protect our business. You don't think the unions do that? They go after like the guys, the bad construction workers. You know, we got. You know, you go to work and you don't know what you're doing. The other union guys are like, you better get your ass together. You're going to make us look bad in front of the customer.
Pretty much.
You know, I don't know. Anything else? I just exhausted everything I want to talk about.
I mean, that's
are you familiar? Are you familiar with Alterna Comics?
Yeah, I had a. I can send you a link later. I don't want to say anything about Alterna Comics.
But okay, he's printing his own comics too, and it's all the small guys that are doing something interesting. Like you said, back in the 30s and 40s, these guys built this out of nothing, and now we got guys with the resources that are just, hey, let's on Thursday night, let's all get together and draw Spider-Man again. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, because the biggest thing with, especially with the culture right now, Marvel movies aren't doing good. You know, we're at a like stagnant state of like new properties and ideas. So it's basically a great time to give good ideas. And at least a lot of the stuff that I've seen in comics a lot of the time has been like a repurposing of like 90s stuff. And it's like, well, if that's your thing, like there's nothing against that. But like, you know, I like to read, you know, I can go read 90s comics, you know, out of the back issue bin for like, you know, those are so cheap.
Right.
You know, so like, you know, I want to read something new and interesting, you know.
You could get a full run of Pitt for $40.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times you can get like 90s comics for like 10 cents a piece, you know. But that's how cheap you can find them sometimes.
Right. You know, so hey, speaking of good comics, we got Dave Brink, Genuine Comics. Great guy. Keeps out of all the drama. Love his comics. Making some of the best superhero comics coming out right now. But I think, you know, you watch one of these old Comicsgate shows, you know, and it's like 200 years worth of talent, and they're drawing Spider-Man, they're drawing Batman. Okay, this week, do you want to draw Batman or do you want to draw Spider-Man, or how about we draw like maybe instead we draw you know, the Human Torch or Captain America. It's like, dude, Marvel ain't calling you. Marvel ain't calling you anymore.
Well, and it's also, I think, one of these things where, you know, you're known for this and you love this, and so you do it. You know, there was a point where I was trying to get out of drama on YouTube, and I would make a video talking about, you know, the history of this or the different comics, and it would not be about drama. And it's like nobody would watch it. And it's like, well, obviously my entire audience is into the drama stuff. And it's like, so, you know, at that point it was like, well, I don't want to complain anymore, you know. So, you know, I just basically gave it up at that point. And you know, that's what it was.
Right. It drains your soul. Like these negative channels. It's gotta wear on you. You know, I just, you know, like on Sundays, I put a camera right over here and I just take a comic book and I talk about it. And I don't draw the biggest crowd, and we'll talk about like early X-Men, or just this week I did a Wally Wood comic, and it's so much fun. It's just talking about comics. Like, it's, for a long time I was using the hashtag before Elon Musk said stop using hashtags, that it's about comics. It's about comics. It's not about attacking other people. And
Yeah,
it's
if you're attacking people that make comics, that's not about comics. That's about people.
well, it's about negativity, and I firmly believe Comicsgate. It was exciting back 10 years ago. A whole bunch of people came. We had it was refreshing to find other people like you and your boy Zach and all these people that felt the same way that I did. It was like, oh wow, there's like that's the best part about the internet is you find out that there's a whole group of
Group
people.
of people that are doing the same thing.
Yeah, and then it was great. And then, all right, so what do we do about it? What do we do about it? Oh, we start attacking each other. That's what we do about it. I'm out of here. You know, it it's
I
10
think
years.
that's inevitably what happens in a lot of these groups because, I mean, if you look at a lot of I don't have an example off the top of my head, but there's been other groups on the internet, and, they always kind of seem to, the big one was the reaction channels. You had Ethan, Klein, what was it, H3.
Yeah, I never watched any of those guys. I know nothing about them.
So, like, essentially, they've all kind of imploded as well. And now they're all attacking each other as well. And it's like, that's essentially what happens. Like, I guess you get irritated with one another and, you know, you make your living talking on the internet. And now you have nothing to talk about or something. I have no idea, but.
I don't know. It's like my advice is like go out and get a real job.
I know, like,
because that's when Richard got weird. Like what is
my job is very simple. I'm not, well, I'm an electrician in the military, but I also do a manufacturing job, and it's very simple. I work all night, and I usually just pray the rosary while I'm running the machine. So time goes by quick. I have fun, as fun as you can be working. And that's all it is. Like, it's very fulfilling.
you literally do the rosary every day?
Like all the mysteries. So I get like 3 breaks.
Wow.
I work 12 hours. So literally I work like the whole night, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And I'll pray the first section, and then I'll go on break, come back, pray the second section, so on till the end of the day.
My mom, we had 7 kids. My mom was very religious, Roman Catholic. So I assume you're Roman Catholic.
Yeah, I just converted last year.
Oh wow! Congratulations. What were you before, if you don't mind me asking?
Like like evangelical.
Okay, because my mom, she would, when all the kids went to sleep, it was the only time poor woman ever had to herself. So she would sit there with her rosary and a Schlitz beer in those old brown bottles. Are you old enough to remember them?
No.
And she would have her cigarette and her Schlitz beer in one hand and the rosary.
Yeah.
Smoking a cigarette, taking old Irish lady doing a rosary every night. It's like, God bless you. You and my mom would have gotten along.
Well, yeah, if anybody listening hasn't ever tried it, like, you just, like, I feel like, because things will go wrong when you're at work, and I feel like just doing that, like, you obviously get mad when it happens, but I feel like I'm way less irritated than if I wasn't doing it. Like, even when you're in the middle of it and things are going good, like, if you're just sitting there, you'd be bored. But since you're keeping your mind, active with that, you just have this joy,
Yeah, I agree with you. When I'm at work, a lot of times it's just like, okay, this is what you're gonna do. The foreman will lay it out, and then you do it for 3 weeks. Because it's a commercial job, and I got it's a lot of repetition, but there's a lot to it or whatever. It's electrical work, but you've done it a million times after 22 years. So I don't pray the rosary. I'm not that religious, but I'll plot out comic book ideas. So I was like, okay, it's for me. Like, I'm getting paid a nice wage, You know,
Also plan your
and,
storyline.
and I'm planning. So it's funny because now I consider that time productive. Like getting paid to do work wasn't productive
Because if
because
you're doing trim out and stuff, like that's very monotonous and
right, yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, put in your 100 outlets. You know what I mean?
like okay, that's going to take like a week or whatever, but
Yeah, and
you
so
know,
I just sit there and and the patriarch does this, and then this bad guy does that. You know, and then people like it's lunchtime. You're like, oh wow, the whole morning went by. You know,
yeah,
but,
that's how the day is with me. Because I didn't think, I took this job and I'm like, 12 hours, man, I don't even like working 10 hours. But now
yeah.
it's like, I wouldn't say I love working 12 hours, but um, it
What
doesn't
do
feel like the worst thing in the world. Like,
what do you work?
especially since they do give us, what's that?
Do you work 3 days a week?
It's kind of like rotating. So, like, I work Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week, but I'll have next weekend off. So I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off.
Okay.
And then, so if I have the weekend off, I work Tuesday, Wednesday, and if I work the weekend, I work Monday, Tuesday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I flip flop, every week.
Well, Herwenberg, who I consider way smarter than me, and PB, who I also consider way smarter than me, they brought up two things, but I have a thought. So Genuine Comics, right? So we got to get to Genuine Comics, who's more talented and more smarter than me. It's human nature to eventually f everything up and create conflict. Yes, human beings are hardwired for conflict.
Well, and
Yes,
you see that too in when you read, like, especially when you go all the way back to like Genesis, like every time they're talking
Phil
about
Collins.
and what,
Phil Collins.
but like you read about like these the Bible stories, and it's like there's not. I guess that's Sodom and Gomorrah story where they're looking for like five people that are good, and there's
Right.
nobody. There's nobody.
But you know, Richard C. Meyer created his own controversy, and he had eventually, destroyed him. If you ask me, like Ethan is just creating his own. Like we are hardwired for you think about it. How long is humans? Whether you believe in human evolution or not, that's besides the point. But we can all agree that most of human history has been a struggle for resources, struggles against other tribes, struggles against animals, struggles against nature. And now we are at the easiest point in human history. I know we're being
Well,
improved.
at least in the United States.
I'm sorry.
At least in the United States,
Right,
where
right. Yeah.
most people in the third world are like living the
Right.
hardest life.
I mean, it either watching this right now, they're not in Nigeria chasing a rat for food, but like we are living in the easiest time in the easiest place in human history. So we create problems. I get that. I get that. So this follows up to what this is. So it's human nature to rubberneck and watch the conflict. Yes, because it's like wired into us. We are problem solvers by nature, which is why I think things like UBI will be an absolute disaster for humanity. Um, and PB says he'd rather people shake hands, thrive, and be happy. So my response to this is, I think the people watching YouTube want to see conflict. It's a YouTube thing. This is TV. TV, you don't want to turn on TV
You
and
need
the
a
show.
storyline or whatever.
Right. It's the Cowsills. How's that for a reference? Or the Brady Bunch, and everything's perfect and everything's happy. No, I'm turning on. I want to see the Kardashians. I want to see conflict. I want to see a documentary about Caesar, and I want to see comic book people fighting with each other. Truly happy people aren't here.
Yeah.
They're out with their kids, their grandkids. They're doing stuff. They're creating stuff. So maybe I don't know. Maybe that's another reason Rip is right. Get the comic book stores. People getting up off their ass going to a store. Hail Mary, full of grace. The Mets are now in second place. There you go. This is why soap operas are popular. Yep. I don't know. I don't have a solution. I just like comics. I want to make comics. I want people to enjoy my comics. I want to talk about your comics. And I just wish people were excited to talk about
the process instead of the behind the scenes,
right.
because they always say never, you don't want to know how the sausage is made. You just want to.
Right. Like I wish I'd never contacted Kurt Busiek.
Oh man, I think I found out he was a jackass in like 2012.
Oh,
Like it was something mundane, like it was about mowing the lawn or something. Like he flipped out on me. And I'm like, what are we doing here? And then somebody was like, yeah, he's a weirdo, so don't feel too bad about it.
yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Well, we've been talking for almost 2 hours now, and I'm like way over. The last time I stayed up this too late, I talked for 4 hours with Liam Gray, and that caused an explosion. So we'll stop. We're already going to be clipped on Trashcast on Sunday night. So I'll stop now. But thanks for coming around, Philip.
Oh, thank you. We were supposed to do this a while ago, but
yeah,
I got messed up.
Life gets in the way. Who cares? So Phil Captain Cummings is one of the original Comicsgate guys. Way back when the old Magic was written with Aslan, and I thought it would be fun to talk to some of the people who were there, like set us straight. What was Comicsgate? So I don't know if I even asked you that. So let me ask you point blank: is Comicsgate dead?
I mean, it would have to be. Well, I mean, what we had originally is dead. If you think about it, I don't know. Does England Teen make videos still?
I haven't seen one.
Doug will do some live streams about his books. So, you have that, but he doesn't do because he's more concentrated on his stuff. He doesn't do what's going on in mainstream comics anymore. So, I'm not making any videos. I think the only ones that would maybe be carrying the torch is, Yellow Flash, maybe. I don't know. That would be about it, right?
Right. Yeah. It was a movement by fans, and it became a brand, and it's not the same thing. It's there's two different things. It's AM and PM, AC and DC, or you know what I mean. It's over. It's not even a good brand anymore. It's literally, you call yourself Comicsgate, people are gonna stop.
I don't even really pay attention to it all that often. I mean, I'm on X, but whenever I do see something going on, it's like the most embarrassing thing that you wouldn't tell your coworkers, what's going on. You'd be embarrassed for them to find out that you're like you just read that tweet or whatever.
Mandy Summers is blackmailing Dale Keown with dick pics, and it's like, really, this is what Comicsgate is?
What?
What's that? Oh, you don't even know about that. Good for you.
Oh, I meant what? What? That's I didn't know about that, but it doesn't surprise me. But your coworkers would be like, "What? Why do you even know anything about this?"
Right. You follow this? Aren't you almost 60? You know about these people? Yeah, she did the same thing to Kyle Ritter, and they all admit, and she used to be a cam girl. And this other one that's always around Comicsgate, that she makes incest porn videos, and they pee on each other.
It's like, what?
It's like, why are you? This is a conservative Christian movement.
That's not conservative or Christian.
Right. It's
read Acts when that person was having relations with his wife's mother or something like that. They cut him off and told him to go away.
Yeah. It's embarrassing. It's
Oh, is that mint salad? That's the person that's
I know. Yeah.
She actually, I remember her because she did that Star Wars rant, and then it blew up in all the mainstream media. and then you found out she was just a weirdo. Like I thought it was kind of an act, but
Uh,
apparently it wasn't.
there's a documentary in the making about her. You know, it's worse and sadder than you think. You know, everybody sends me information, and I feel like I need to take a shower.
Like I don't pay attention to that much,
well,
much, but when I do, it's like a whole new like, oh yeah, I forgot this was so weird.
on Twitter, I was just like, I blocked 3 accounts, and now Twitter is all about people who like comic books, and I want to stop with the politics. It's just like, you know, like all this. We hate Democrats. I hate Democrats too, but you know what? I'm tired of it. It's draining on my soul. Like, you know, and it's funny, since I unsubscribed to a couple of channels on YouTube, and now YouTube feeds me. It's all Greek mythology, Roman history.
Yeah, that's what
cool stuff about George Washington. I'm like, oh wow, YouTube's fun again. But like, I used to spend like 4 hours a day listening to some guy talk about how much he hates Eric July, and I'm like, it's like you said, it's embarrassing. This is what I did with my time. I'm a grown ass man. You know, I could be building a shelf or something like that.
I do watch this one channel that makes fun of LeBron James all the time, which is kind of fun, but it's usually like debunking like stuff that, you know, the major media talks about with LeBron James. Like this one was today's video was the true longevity king. You know, so they say that LeBron James is like, you know, he's been good for so long, but this one was like pointing out that no, like John Stockton missed like 12 games his entire career or something like that. Like he's the true longevity king or whatever.
So you're still a big sports guy, like that is that kind of what you're replacing all this with, is just watching sports?
Actually, I don't. I was into the NBA for the longest time, but it kind of got, you know, when everything became political, I stopped watching it. But now that it's like the like old guard is getting too old, where they're not like owning the league anymore. A lot of the young guys actually do seem like they care about playing the game instead of, you know, telling you what to believe. So I'm kind of, you know, watching to see if it's going to be better.
Yeah, you know, same thing. Like all the politics and negativity of sports has chased people away. Like I know guys that are just like, they don't know what to do with themselves. All their hobbies have been ruined. You know. Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
we got a good question. Can we ever expect a return from the captain in one way, shape, or form?
I mean, probably not, because I don't like doing YouTube, because it's so, you know, if you want it to be good, first off, I think I have like, I think it's like the Richard C. Myers conundrum, where you want it to be to some sort of expectation of like what quality it should be, and I'm never going to meet that quality, so I'm never going to be happy with what I'm putting out, and so, you know, I just don't have any like enjoyment of like doing YouTube.
Yeah, if it's not fun, don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. I have way more stuff, you know, to have fun doing, you know. Like I like mostly I just read regular books, you know, comic books. You know, so I read like you know, the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy. I read the Count of Monte Cristo. Right now I'm reading Treasure Island, you know, just going through all the classics.
Yeah, I went through a phase about 10 years ago of reading all the classics. Ivanhoe, you know, Mysterious Island, you know, 20,000 Leagues Under. That was a lot of fun. That's everybody should go through like a 5-year period. Read all the classic books. Read all the classic books. Now I'm going through a phase of reading the original pulps, like Doc Savage, The Shadow. Why can't I think of the other ones?
Yeah, a lot of the times I'll listen to it on Spotify while I'm working out or something, and they just recommended like Conan the Barbarian, and I'm like, oh well, I've got to listen to it. It's going to be 60 hours, but I'm definitely gonna have to listen to that next. You know.
When it comes to audiobooks, I only listen to books that I've already read because
Oh,
like
because you have a hard time like following then.
no, it's just that I feel bad. Like this guy wrote a book, I'm supposed to read the book, and now I'm just gonna listen to it. You know, it's like cheating. I'm not really reading.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, the way I thought about it, I hear what you're saying, but I kind of feel like, the original storytelling was,
Right.
by word, even in, the scriptures, they would open it up and like read it to everybody. And so, like, I feel like it's fine. It depends on the book too. Like, I started listening to Moby Dick, and I was like, no, I got to veto this. I can't. Like, if I'm going to read this book, I have to actually read it because it's too like esoteric or something. I don't know if that's the right word,
Yeah,
but
you
it's
got to
too
pay
like.
attention to it.
I'm like, this is too hard to follow. Like listening to it.
It's funny. Herrenberg says YouTube is fun. Yeah, it's gotten so much better now that I like Comicsgate nonsense isn't in my feed anymore. I watch a lot of content about the ancient Minoans. Herrenberg, I went down a Minoan rabbit hole.
Oh,
You know,
there's so many people are so professional now that like there's like a quality to like most of the like stuff that old YouTube was fun because anybody could do it. Now there's like a quality aspect where you have to have this level of professionalism to.
right. It's why I'll never hit 3,000 subs because I don't.
It just is what it is, you know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is what it is. Low effort channel, but yeah. But the problem is, like, I watched a video about the Romans the other day, and I was like, this is AI generated. Like, they kept using the same words, and like,
Oh, I
saw,
hate those type of videos.
so I'm like, is this even real information? Is this accurate? Like, what's to stop somebody from? Because all the images are AI generated, and then the talking was. So I'm like, is this just like? Did some guy just hit a button, slop out a 10-minute video, and I'm a sucker listening to it, just like a John Delarose novel?
Yeah, I heard he was like bragging about using.
Right. And then I said to him, I go, you call yourself a Christian? I said, but you're lying to people. I said, you're using pen names. I said, but you're spamming out pen names. I said, every one of your novels has a different pen name. You put it on Amazon, people just, it's like you throw in a net in the water and little fish just happen to buy your book. I said, and they'll give a bad review or no review or whatever. And they'll fall for it again because you don't use the same name. I said, what is your pen name? Because I'm not telling you. I said, because you're not proud of it, because you know you're doing something wrong. I said, that's why you're not a Christian, because you're lying to people. And then he goes and makes a video. Oh, I was called not a Christian today because I use AI. And I commented, no, he's doing it right now. You're not a Christian because you're lying, not AI. I said, and you know exactly what I meant, because I said exactly, you're not a Christian because you're lying to people. You know you lie. You know you're doing the wrong thing. And he's like, well, he says I'm not a Christian because I get a load of this guy. He says I'm using AI, so I'm not a Christian. It's like, no, lying again. It's like 4 lies. Yeah, I'm betting you. Because I freaking write my stuff. May not be the best, but I wrote it. If you want pure fun and tons of laugh, watch Space King. Okay, I don't know anything about it. I'll check it out. Maybe the captain can resurrect this channel to a booktube channel. Well, I'm getting sleepy and I'm saying stuff I shouldn't say. So, you know, if come back, man. It's fun talking to you. It's like good to hear one of the sensible voices from years ago. Like I never thought I would have a channel where I would have you on. I listened to you 10 years ago, making you sound old, but like, a lot of respect. You're missed. People do miss you, and the whole Comicsgate thing suffered because you're not around. You were like,
Well, it's funny because I would think that I'm like completely different than I was like 10 years ago. Because I don't know if I've listened to my videos, but like I look at some of what was there? There's that Comicsgate like documentary out there done by that one dude. I can't remember.
Al Hazmat. Yeah, he made one about me. Check that out.
And like I looked at one of the tweets I wrote and I was like, oh my goodness, like like I was like, I definitely don't like think that way anymore. But you know, I think it was because I was like cursing up a storm or something like that, and I was like, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, 10 years is a big. You shouldn't be the same in 10 years. I'm trying to think of me 10 years ago. Thin, with hair. Yeah. All right. But it's good talking to you, buddy. Hit me up. Don't be a stranger. And you're doing the right thing, keeping yourself away from this. Because your Twitter name isn't even Captain Cummings or anything like that. I'm not going to give it out. That's not my information to give out. But it's like you keep.
Well, I'm sure everybody will figure. First off, I think Ethan knows it's my account because he has me blocked. But I don't know when he blocked me, but I don't.
Why? You don't respect anybody anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't really even.
I'm surprised you responded to me. To be honest,
I might respond to like Student of God sometimes, but like that's about like that's he's my link to all the stuff that's going on in indie comics, basically. Because he reports on it, basically.
Right? Yeah. He'll give me heads up. They're talking about you. I'm like, God, do I really want to check on this link?
You really don't. Like, who cares?
If I click on it, I'm going to say something. And all the like these assholes that like Clipper channels, stuff like that all they want is a reaction. And if you don't react to it,
they don't have anything.
They don't have anything. So, like right now, I know for a fact I'm on Trashcast right now. Good. Talk about me. Good. I hope you made some super chats. Tell your wife I helped you pay your mortgage this month because it ain't comic books. You're welcome. You're welcome. Not you whip up the 2 minutes hate for another month.
Yeah, Zaid Comics says I've seen Cummings lifting heavy weights on Twitter. I was trying to get 400 pounds on deadlift yesterday. Wow. And it was one of those, you've seen the videos where they're like shaking, trying to get it up to I was at that point and I was like, it was either pass out or put it down. I chose put it down. Yeah. So maybe I'll get it in a week or two.
All right. Well, I'm going to bed, man. I got a doctor. Okay. I got my yearly checkup tomorrow.
Oh yeah. That's always the worst.
Yeah. I hate the doctors. They're always it
takes so long to get.
Well, my doctor's quick. Like I can't complain about that, but it's just like, okay, here's a prescription, here's a prescription, here's a prescription. Like it's like but the old school doctors, they were like, go out and exercise, eat better. You know what I mean? Like there was no prescriptions. Now everything's a prescription. Yeah.
Yeah, I've only gotten one for heart blood.
I think it's time to change, doc. This is why I'm only talking about this because I'm sleepy and I'm being stupid. I don't like hate watching hurts the soul. Absolutely. I'd rather shake hands and be happy. I absolutely agree. PB, if your logic's finest, that means you live in New York and come on over, we'll shake hands. But I'm gonna go. See you guys. Thanks a lot. Phil, it was good talking to you. It's just so funny to me that to actually sit and talk with you after, watching your videos. You know what I mean? It's
a pleasure, sure.
Yeah, cool. Good. Thanks a lot, man. I'll see you. Bye-bye, everybody.